Okay, in today's video, we're going to continue exploring different ways to solve quadratic equations. So far, we have already solved quadratic equations by factoring, by graphing, by using our calculator. Today, we're going to work on solving quadratics using square roots. We will do the other two in further lessons. So as a reminder, we're just looking, when we solve quadratics, we're looking for our value of x when y equals 0. And other words that we use, solutions, roots, and zeros, are all talking about the x-intercepts. And our quadratics can either have two solutions, one solution, or no solution. So I'm sure you're getting pretty good at this, but that was just a quick review on the whole process of quadratics. So the time that we would use solving quadratic equations with our square roots are when we have no bx in our equation. So as long as we have ax squared plus c, we're fine. As long as there's not a bx term, then we're going to be using, or you could, it's an option, to use solving by square roots. So when you had the ax squared plus c equals 0, it's a prime candidate for this method of solving. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow these steps. We need to isolate our x squared on one side of the equation, and then just like we did a couple of lessons ago, we're just going to take the square root of both sides of the equation. And anytime we do that, we're going to end up with an answer that's plus and minus the root. So let's see how that works. On number 1, let's go ahead and make this a little bigger. The first step is to isolate the x squared onto one side. So I need to isolate this x squared by itself. So to do that, I'm going to have to move the negative 25. So I'm going to zero it out so I can move it to the other side. So to zero out minus 25, the inverse operation is plus 25 on both sides. So that gives me x squared equals 25. Now, the second step is to take the square root of both sides. So square root of x squared, square root of 25. And that's going to give me x equals the positive and the negative root, so plus or minus 5. And there's my answer. Okay, so I want you to pause your video. Well, let's first talk a little bit about number 2 before I have you do it. On number 2, before you can do anything else, you could take the square root of 3 on both sides, but that's going to become very, very messy. You need to isolate this x squared. So go ahead and first, before you do it, divide both sides by 3. So I want you to go ahead and do number 2 and number 3 on your own. Pause your video, work through them. Actually do 2, 3, and 4. Pause your video while you work through them, and then check back for the answers and the explanation. Okay, just check over your answers. They were all very straightforward, and make sure that you were able to get the correct answers. All right, so let's just take it one step further and look at number 5. Number 5, we have an entire term, a binomial being squared, equals to 25. So we're just going to take the same process. We're going to take the square root of both sides. So on number 5, I would do the square root on both sides. So the square root of x minus 1 squared is just plain old x minus 1 equals plus or minus 5. Now we need to go ahead and finish solving it for x, but now we've got two equations here because of the plus minus sign. So what we really have is x minus 1 equals positive 5, and we have x minus 1 equals negative 5. So because of this plus and minus sign, I've had to break it up into two equations. So I want you to go ahead and finish solving number 5, both of these equations for x to get the answers, and then I want you to go ahead and take number 6 all the way through the process. So pause your video while you do it and then check back for the final explanation. Okay, so on number 5, when you finish solving the two equations for x, you should have gotten 6 and x also equals -4. Those are your two solutions. And then on number 6, as you took it through the process, your two solutions, your two zeros, are x equals 12 and x equals, didn't put it in there, x equals -16.